So, week 2 of May is done and dusted. Spring here in Nova Scotia is now in full swing. It's not ravishing or red hot or anything, but things are growing in earnest now. Things are popping up everywhere. And it's all very well me getting all excited and spending my time on all my new projects, you know, getting this ready, building covered seats and raised beds out of rocks, etc. But I can't forget the normal jobs that I've got to do in the garden, like planting my onions, putting up the bean poles, and all the rest of the seeding and potting up bulbs, all these bulbs that I bought and have been bought for me. Can't forget those, otherwise I won't have anything to grow in all of these raised beds and look at in shady splendour underneath my roofed garden seat. So this week again is all about the new. Planting onions, putting up the bean poles ready for the beans to go in a few weeks time, potting up the bulbs, etc., and making sure that they're ready to put in these raised beds in a few weeks time when the danger of frost is gone. Never forget the basics. Always got to get those basics done, and then all the projects, the special stuff can be done in between. So I hope you enjoy this week's video. So I thought it was about time that I put my bean poles up. Not that I'll be actually planting any beans in the next couple of weeks, more like 3 or 4 weeks, but it's more of a statement of intent. Get the bean poles in all ready, and then the garden is like sort of raring to go. So I haven't got any bamboo poles or anything. Keeping in with the old trying to be economical, I use maple cut-offs and some birch or whatever, and I find the rusticness of them, I quite like it actually as well. So let's put them up, shall we? So what I'm going to do is bridge this gap and plant the beans one row down there, one row down there, and then I'm sort of being economical with the space. This bit here is really dead space, so it's just going to bridge across like that. So I'll get on with it. So there's your basic frame, and that's given me a good basic sturdiness, but we've always got the back and forth to worry about with the wind, and you know, hopefully when we've got a real good harvest going on, there's quite a bit of weight coming in, so we need an even sturdier frame. So what I do is anchor it diagonally across. So I'll put them in now. Pretty good. And this will allow me then to harvest the crops from underneath, those ones that you always miss that are hiding and sneaking underneath there. I'll be there to get them. So another job done. Looking forward to putting the beans in. So today I'm going to pot up some Peruvian daffodils that I got from a birthday present from my wife and Ethan. I've never grown Peruvian daffodils before, and looking at the actual instructions, there's no actual particular potting compost. It just says, when using as a patio flower, use regular potting soil. So I'm going to do that with a bit of my own
compost and a bit of leaf mould in there as well, just to give it some body. So your usual potting compost, you know, when you use it in an actual pot, it often doesn't have a lot of body, so it needs watering all the time, and so it won't hold the moisture. So I've mixed some ordinary potting soil up with mine. So I've got a usual about 12-inch pot. You want a good pot, and excuse that bang. And I've got some old crocks to cover the actual hole at the bottom, so that they're actually not completely covering it, but they're just giving it a bit of drainage down there. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put a bit of soil in and then plant these bulbs up about 6 inches below the actual soil line. And apparently these are very fragrant, and they're the usual type of summer bulbs where once the summer's over, I'll have to bring them in to somewhere frost free. So let's pot up. So let's have a little look at these. Yeah, that's what happens when you leave things a bit long. They've started to sprout already, so I want to get these in. So how many have we got in here? One. So we've got 2 bulbs. So let's get that in. Let's have a look at this. Plant it slightly on its side. Careful not to break. Oh, there we go. Not sure you can see that one there. Let's get these a bit deeper. Don't be afraid to plant these deep, I don't think. Any of these big summer flowering bulbs. Right, let's fill this up. Even more, I think. So you can see I've got the ordinary potting compost in there with all the bits, but then I've got my compost mixed in there with all its bits. That's got a bit more body about it, a bit more sturdiness. There we go. So give that its name. Peruvian Daff. Stick that in. Still, I'm going to keep them in somewhere frost free for the moment. Fortunately, I've got a nice big patio doors behind me where the south facing and the sun's coming in all the time during the day, so that's good. And hopefully we'll have some of these beautiful. These are going to go in the secret garden because these are white. So I'll be sitting there in shady splendour, smelling the very fragrant Peruvian daffodils in the summer, hopefully. There we go. Job's a good one.
So my last job of a very busy weekend is to plant up some onions. I've been putting this job off, but I've got to get amongst it, otherwise I won't be having any onions this year. So I've got some red ones here. So I've got the variety Red Rouge here. Onions are pretty standard. How to plant them. I'm just going to put them about 1 inch deep and about a hand's length apart, and then probably a hand's length apart in rows as well. So I better get on with it. As you can see, little tiny sets I've got here. They should turn into some nice beauties when we get going. I've got 100 here. Not sure I'm going to plant 100. I might actually plant a load up as early greens, and I'll plant them a bit closer together, and then they can make nice green onions. Where'd that one go? So I'll be able to plant them just a couple of inches apart. I won't need so much room. I'm also going to plant them in another one of the beds, because obviously this is very small, and I've got 100 white onions as well. There we go. About an inch down, pretty easy. Make sure they're all nice and firm, none of them rotted away. I always feel like I want to not have them in such regimented rows and be a bit radical. But when it comes to weeding them, it's much easier to weed them when they're in rows, isn't it? So we're stuck with the rows. Right, I think that will do for the white red onions, and I'll put some white onions in now. Right, so these white onions are Sturon. Do these the same. Oh, this one's bolted off already. Better get him in. There we go. There's about 30 red and about 30, excuse me, a bit of a cold this weekend, 30 white. So it's a long waiting game now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to plant a load more, nice and close together, and get some green onions out of it. Nearly forgot. Better water these in first as well. So I've got the rest of these white and red onions here, and I'm literally just going to plant them in bang, 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 an inch apart all the way down to make so that I can get hopefully a load of green onions out of it. I'm good because later on I'm going to be using this bed, which is a big square bed, for sweet corn, but the next couple of months I can, at least at this end, use it up for some green onions, or spring onions as we call them in England. So here we are. It's as quick as bang them all out and put them in. I do believe I hear Mrs. F and young Ethan just about to fill up their water guns. So I better get these in quickly before I get squirted mid-film. I'm filming. And I'm planting these onions. Child. Right, let me finish these onions and I'll be with you. It is Mrs. F, yes, being very annoying. Now buzz off. Blimey, I'll tell you what, it's never ending. There we go, give these a cover. These will start popping through very soon. 6 to 8 weeks time, some green onions, here I come. Not forgetting to water them.
So I've got some more bulbs I'm potting up here for the secret garden white flower area. Lilium Casablanca. Now, I'm not very successful in growing lilies in the ground here. I don't know what it is, but they just never seem to grow for me. So I normally put them in pots. So this has got 2 lilies with it, but I'm running out of pots. So the old, I try as much as possible as well to use, you know, what pots I've got around me. So there's some old yogurt pots here, and I've just drilled some holes in the bottom. I'm only going to put these in here for a couple of weeks while I'm just getting ready to plant up the secret garden. So I'm going to put them one in each in here, and then I'm going to put them into the actual stone raised beds themselves and see how they grow in there. So I'm just going to use ordinary potting compost. Won't bother at the bottom. A little bit, just less than halfway. So we can just see the pointy bit there is obviously the up. I'll say obviously, but some people aren't going to know. And we can see some the flatter area, and where there's some old roots is the bottom. So let's just plant it nice in there. Give it a covering. Like I said, this is only temporary, just for a few weeks. Give it its start in life. Let's get the second one. Pointy end, rooty end. See that? The rooty end. In there. There we go. It's a good one. Now, always making sure you mark up your containers, especially with bulbs when you don't know what's going on. There we go. 2 more. The stock of plants that I'm having ready is mounting.